The Wooden Adventures of Thomas the Tank Engine, Episode 2, Russ the Grand. Oliver and Toad were feeling depressed. Duck had recently been in an accident, and they were left having to run the little western branch line by themselves. Just then, a small blue and yellow engine came out from behind the oil depot, and it pulled up alongside Oliver and Toad. "Hello there," said the new engine. "My name's Logan. What are your names?" "My name's Oliver," said Oliver, "and this is my brake van Toad." "A pleasure to meet you, Mr. Logan," said Toad. "Sir Tom and Hatt never told us you were coming to Sodor," said Oliver. "Yeah," said Logan. "He wanted it to be a surprise. But actually, I've been here on Sodor for a little bit longer than you think. And it's a very interesting story. And this is the story that Logan told Oliver and Toad. It all happened because of Russ. Russ is an engine who came from the other railway. But when the other railway was invaded by diesels, Russ was brought to Sodor to avoid being scrapped. However, Russ is very arrogant, has very little patience, and thinks that mainland engines are the best. And he often likes to boast about how grand he is. One day, Russ came to the shed where Mavis, Bill, Toby, Donald, and Douglas were all talking. "Coming through, engines," he said as the turntable began to turn to its line. "Make way for Russ the Grand." "And just what makes you so grand?" said Bill. "We've been through this many times," said Russ, "and I keep saying that mainland engines are the best. But silly tankards like you don't remember this sort of stuff." And Russ raced away, leaving the engines behind in a cloud of dust. The engines knew that while Russ did work hard and did mean well, he could often get on the engine's nerves sometimes. The next day, Bill was working at the quarry. Ben was at the works due to an accident he had had at the crossing near Boulder Mountain, and Bill and Mavis were working on their own. The men were blasting that day, and Bill was given orders to keep a safe distance away. The farthest Bill could get was next to the switch tower, and its back end was sticking out on the points. Russ had just delivered his passengers to Confrontation Station, and was now heading off to get some coal and water. Russ soon approached the junction where Bill was at. He could see that Bill was on the points, but he didn't know that the men were blasting and that Bill was keeping a safe distance away. And instead of asking Bill if he could move, Russ puffed forward and gave him a bump. Russ ran through the junction, while Bill was pushed forward towards the blasting tunnel. Bill's driver and fireman had been knocked out of the cab when Russ pushed Bill, so there was nothing to stop Bill and his cars from running into the dynamite. By the time it was all over, the area was a complete mess. The explosion from inside the tunnel had sent Bill and his freight cars flying back several feet, and rocks were everywhere. Luckily, nobody had been hurt. The workmen called out to Russ, but he was long gone. Later that night, Thomas was resting in a shed when Russ pulled up on the adjacent line. "Get out," said Russ. "This shed is for mainland engines only." "No, it isn't," said Thomas. "This shed is Sodor's property, so Sodor engines are allowed to sleep here." "Not tonight," said Russ. "Now you're gonna get out of there, or am I gonna have to make you?" Thomas did not want to argue with Russ, so he puffed away to find somewhere else to sleep. Once Thomas was gone, Russ backed into the shed. He now had it all to himself. A couple hours later, however, Henry pulled up to the shed. He had been working late into the night and was now in need of a good rest. "What do you want?" said Russ. "Can't you see I'm trying to sleep?" "Can I sleep here?" said Henry. "I'm tired, and all the spots at Timothy's shed are taken." "Oh, I wish I could share the shed with you, Henry," said Russ, "but my friend here is sleeping, and he is not in the mood for letting you take his spot." Russ, as you may expect, was lying that there was someone else in the shed with him. He was not in the mood for sharing it, especially with Henry. Henry was too tired to argue, so he decided to see if there was any room in the steamworks for him to sleep, and he puffed away. Russ was about to go back to sleep when Cgiben had arrived. "Russ," he said, "I've not been pleased with what you have done recently." "What are you talking about?" said Russ. "I got a call from the quarry manager that you caused an accident at the quarry." "What do you mean?" said Russ. "The quarry manager said that you gave Bill a bump, and he was pushed forward into the blasting tunnel." "Well, he was in my way," said Russ. "I don't care if he was in your way," said Hatt. "Bill had to be in your way because he was keeping away from the blasting tunnel while they were blasting." "Oh," said Russ. I see. "What you caused was incredibly idiotic," said the top hat, "and you could have killed several miners and workmen. Not to mention, Bill is now out of service thanks to your actions. So tomorrow you will have to take a train to Vigorstown." "Yes, sir," said Russ. He did not want to argue with the top hat, and went to sleep once the top hat had walked away. The next day, Russ collected his train and set off for Vigorstown. He wanted to get the job done as quickly as possible. On his journey to Vigorstown, he passed by Crovan's Gate, where the steamworks was located. Russ could see that Bill was inside, so Tom had said last night that Russ would have to stop at the steamworks to say sorry to Bill, but Russ didn't say sorry. He just kept on going. This made the trucks very cross. If Russ isn't gonna say sorry to Bill, then maybe it's time we taught him a lesson. Yeah, said the other trucks. "Let's do it." And they continued along their way. Gator's journey to Vigorstown took him across the lift bridge. The bridge would then come to a three-way switch, and the track in the middle would lead to the sheds where Russ had just slept last night. The points were switched towards the sheds, so when Gator began to apply his brakes, the trucks began to surge ahead. "Go, go, go, Leo! Faster, faster, faster!" "Look out, Russ," said his driver. "There's a switch ahead." But Russ was out of control. He was swaying side to side along the narrow line. "Look out!" cried Russ, but it was too late. The trucks pushed Russ down the hill, through the junction, and into the shed. And Russ came bursting out the back door. One of the freight cars fell on its side, and as Russ continued, the cars were dragged along, and they ran into a pile. Russ ran through the grass and crashed right into a big old tree. Luckily, nobody had been hurt, but Russ was in a terrible condition. Just then, his driver got out of the cab and saw something behind Russ. "Fireman," he said, "come out and look at this." Russ's fireman got out and looked behind Russ. There, in the rubble, was an engine. "Who are you?" asked Russ. "My name's Logan," said the engine. "And would you please watch where you're going? You almost could have hurt me." "What are you doing back here?" asked Russ's fireman. "Well," said Logan, "it's a very interesting story. So Topham had purchased me from the mainland, and I was going to be a surprise. But when I came here, it was late at night, and I was to stay hidden at the coaling plant until morning. However, when I was on my way to the coaling plant, I ran out of water up on a hill, and I slid back down and went through the back of that shed over there. And well, I ended up back here behind that tree that your engine just knocked over. And I've been stuck here for 2 whole days. Really? Said the driver. Yes, said Logan. But I never thought I'd be glad to see an engine come along, even if it's a clumsy one like your engine. Hey now, said Russ. It wasn't my fault. It was the truck's. Whatever, said Logan. But now that you're here, you can go get help and get me out of here. And Russ's driver and fireman quickly went to get help. A short while later, James, who had just gotten out of the works after an accident he had rescued Logan and Russ, and the 2 engines were sent off to the works. And that, said Logan, is how I came to Sodor. Wow, said Alfred, that's a very nice story. Who would have thought an engine like Russ could have made an amazing discovery? I couldn't agree more, Mr. Oliver, said Toad. I would guess that finding an engine could make Russ quite a grand person, or in this case a train. Just then, Russ came over the hill with some freight cars. Hey look guys, said Oliver, it's Russ the Grand. Oh, be quiet, said Russ, and he puffed away quickly, leaving the other engines behind. Oliver, Toad, and Logan could only laugh.